And I'm here with the incomparable Mr. Billy Murphy Jr. Welcome to the show, my friend. It is so great to have you here. You have no idea.
It's wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. Now, you've run the gauntlet in your profession, a lawyer, judge. You've done it all and done great for civil rights. Baseball is for everyone, and that's the theme. What does that mean to you?
Well, baseball has been a lifetime passion of mine. I played in high school. I played in, not in high school because I got cut off the team. But I played in college, and I had one of the longest home runs hit off of me in the history of college baseball.
How do you feel about baseball now reaching out to embrace everyone?
Well, they've been trying to do it for a long time. And one day they'll find the effective way to do it. It's very difficult because the black community in particular is a basketball, football community.
Yes.
And they haven't been tuned into baseball for a very long time. But it can come back. It can change.
Why do you think the black community has not been tuned into baseball for so long?
Well, it's just not as relevant to them because there are no black players to speak of anymore. And although they identify with the Latino players too, it's not as strong an identification as if it guy came from your own neighborhood or came from a city that you know well or part of the country that you know well. And given that black youngsters don't enjoy baseball as much as they used to, it's very difficult to get the supply of players that you need to have a big black presence in the league. And since the fans come out in part to see black players play, those fans are not going to be as interested anymore.
Now, you were huge in the civil rights movement here in Baltimore. Why was that so important for you personally?
Well, because I'm the victim of lots of discrimination. I grew up in segregation. I was raised in the Cherry Hill Projects. They were all black by law. Whites couldn't live there. Blacks were the only people who could live there. Blacks couldn't live anywhere else. And when I was born, black people couldn't live north of North Avenue and east of Charles Street, except over in that corridor off of Federal Street where people lived who worked at Bethlehem Steel and Continental Can. So this was a really segregated town, and it was one of the most segregated towns in the entire country. And that's hard to believe, isn't it, given that we have Mississippi too, and all that.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the middle of that. I went to a segregated elementary school. I went to a partially integrated school called Robert E. Lee Junior High School. There were 5 in my class out of 45. Then I went to Poly. I was the only black in the class. Then I went to University of Maryland Law School. I was the only black in the class. I went to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I was one of 3 blacks in the class. So segregation's been around me and a part of my life experience from the time I was born.
So just watching you growing up and seeing now, knowing all that about you, that those experiences didn't make you bitter. It kind of formed you, make you stronger. So
well, in the beginning, sure, I was angry. It was beyond bitterness. I was just an angry black man. And I still have some traces of that.
Right.
But the more I've gotten to know people across racial lines, I'm not as angry as I used to be because they didn't do it.
Right.
Now, some of them do it. Some of them still do it.
Right.
But there's a huge component of the white community that's not overtly racist. And, I do business with them all the time. And so I don't want to be mad all the time, That's how I would be if I was still carrying that anger around. And I've made a lot of friends in the white community.
How can we make Baltimore better?
First, we got to change housing so that people can afford it. They don't have to move out. Got to get rid of the slums. Second, we've got to get public school to be first class like it used to be when I was a public school student.
Alex Penderhughes was my superintendent.
Yeah, you remember the good old days.
Right.
And I hate to sound my age, but, those were good old days.
Yeah.
And when I went to elementary school in the heart of segregation, all of my teachers had either master's degrees or PhDs because they could only get jobs in the school system and the post office. And so we had these wonderful black teachers who loved us and who wanted to nurture us and prepare us for the day when integration would come because we were all optimistic enough to anticipate it. And so we had to be better than the white kids. We had to, the word was you had to be 3 times better than a white man to get treated equally. And that never was true, by the way, because you can be 10 times better than a white man in some parts of the country in some periods of time during my life and not even be in the race, because discrimination means that as soon as they see that you're black, you're a monkey. You're less than human. That's the root of racism. Yeah.
It starts with education.
Yes, starts with education, and education has to contain a historical component, which is why the modern racists like DeSantis irk me beyond measure. It's so dangerous. He doesn't want black history taught in the public schools.
Yeah. Mr. Billy Murphy, thank you very much. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you very much.
Hey, my pleasure.